Hello, story seekers. I'm Nico.
I'm Ben, and you're listening to The Tiny Bookcase.
For this episode, we're joined by an author who hails from East Yorkshire and has published numerous pieces of short fiction since 2022.
In 2024, he won a British Science Fiction Association Award for Best Audio, in addition to which he is also a champion Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu martial artist.
We'd like to warmly welcome Rick Danforth.
Hello, Rick.
Hi guys, how's it going?
Very
Not too
good.
bad, I don't think.
Yeah. I'm coming off the back end of a cold, so this is delightful to actually be able to use most of my brain again.
Both nostrils, yeah.
Both nostrils, the entirety of the brain, yeah, the whole thing.
It's underrated.
Don't hit me is my first thing I'll say, please, I beg you. But why BJJ? What called you to that martial art?
If I'm perfectly honest, I had like a really long thing where when I was 18, like I'd went and did kung fu because I'd watched far too many martial art films.
Nice.
Cool.
Yeah, because obviously who doesn't want to? And then did that for a few years, and then I was like, I feel like I'm pretty cool, I'm pretty great at this. And I went to an MMA gym to spar, thinking that I'm gonna clean the house, and I got the living shit kicked out of me, to be perfectly honest with you. And then I was like, all right, let's go do some of it. So I did kickboxing and MMA for quite a few years. And then grappling is my retirement sport where nobody punches me in the head.
That's smart.
Yeah.
It turns out it kind of sucks.
I bet it does. I mean, so I'm aware that did you win at like a championship for, was it over 30s?
Yeah. British over 30s champ in Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, and as of 2 months ago, I'm second in the world in catch wrestling, which is a very niche sport, but I'll take it.
So, do you say second in the world? That's amazing.
Yeah, but it's a very niche sport. It's got a really weird history actually, where it's the origin sport for both freestyle wrestling and for pro wrestling like WWE.
Yeah.
Because effectively, you used to have people doing carnivals throughout North America, and they'd have a catch wrestle there, and it'd be like, oh, Ben's gonna go out wrestle all your locals, put your money on, come out wrestle them. But they realised after a while that it was a terrible business plan because Ben had to then wrestle 20 people in the night, and then he'd get injured, and it was like, well, this is terrible. Ben's getting injured all the time. So what they started doing is saying, oh, Ben, why don't you just fight Nico every night and we'll script it, and that's how pro wrestling started.
Gosh. So what makes it catch wrestling? I'm completely uninitiated here. So what's the...
You can win by takedown or submission. So you can, do arm locks and leg locks, and some kind of choke, and some chokes and crank. If I'm perfectly honest, I actually don't properly know the rules.
It's easy to be second best in the world if you're not following the rules.
The only rule I can tell you is you get disqualified if you don't bring a towel. That was the one thing I focused on when I read the rules.
Was this sport created by Douglas Adams?
Bizarrely, no. It's just a really weird rule where I skimmed them and I was like, oh, it's really important I have a towel. That is the one thing I can promise you I know about catch wrestling, is I had to take a towel and I got disqualified.
This is delightful. I feel like I could just talk to you about martial arts all evening, but that's not what we're here for. We're here for some stories, so may as well get cracking. People listening, this is a classic Tiny Bookcase episode, so we have all three of us written to a prompt. The prompt is chosen by Rick and is conservation. And Nico, I think you're going to conserve it for us first, aren't you?
Yes, I am. The conservation. You see these glorious rolling hills hold a secret. Take a deep breath in now. I'm sure y'all can smell it right through that screen, can't you? That sweet, delightful aroma you're breathing in there? Why, that's nothing but farm fresh strawberries, dairy cream straight from the udder, and locally laid eggs whipped to a crisp, delicious firmness. Of course, we're getting ahead of ourselves. These here fields have been in my family for 6 glorious generations. The world has changed a whole heap of horses since those good old days, but I'm pretty sure Pappy Hendrick would be mighty proud to see his land today. Here, at the conservation, we've been breeding thoroughbreds for so long, Some might even say we've shaped the face of the modern world. And who the heck would we be to argue with that? Why don't y'all come on in and see some of our stock? Oh, ho, ho! Well, looky here. Here's my sweet daughter, Lily Mae, and my beautiful wife, Sandra Basil. How you getting on, my little sugar lumps?
I'm sweet as a sugar pie on Grandpappy's window ledge, Papa.
You bet your bottom you are. And how about the light of my life?
Well, I about reckon I'm luckier than a six-legged horse in the Kentucky Derby.
And why's that, darling?
Well, because I get to live here at the Conservation, America's proudest ranch, and home to the finest. Well, hold it still, John. I can't read it worth a damn. Finest purebred stock you'll ever find in a geopolitical environment.
Boy, howdy, did you say it right. Well, now, what are you ladies a hurrying and a scurrying at?
Well, we got to bring these here bowls of oats down to the young'uns, Papa.
Well, heck, why don't y'all come along with us and meet our stock? This room here is what we call eating. Now, don't get yourself in a twist about it, 'cause it ain't 'cause of where we give 'em the food. This is because we keep our finest English thoroughbreds in this here hall. A lot of folk might be worried about the process. We sure do hear the news stories, but that fake news don't mean nothing to us. What we know is we make an effort to keep the bloodlines pure as we can while limiting inbreeding to an acceptable minimum. That way, we can ensure a quality product every time. Let's head in and see these beauties. Well, hell, would you look at that? Morning, fellas!
Tally hell, the what?
These here boys are a fine crop, ain't they? Here at the Conservation, we've been growing these conservatives to the world's rigorous standards in alignment with my great-great-great-grandpappy Plus's wishes for the good of all. Take a look at this little fella here. That's signature pasty white skin. That shows real class, don't it? They're treated to 3 glorious meals of fresh oats and eaten mess a day, with roast beef on a Sunday. And why's that, son?
Well, it's the Lord's Day, sir.
You bet your bottom it is, young man. You go on and tell me why that's important now, son.
We all must abide by the teachings of the Lord God, at least in all public forums, sir.
Darn tootin', young man. Sweetheart, go on and give this little fella a few extra strawberries now. He's earned 'em. All our thoroughbreds will be given political aspirations and a patented Oxbridge education to match 'em. That's why we can certify them capable of maintaining the social equilibrium of your venture, a promise we make when you buy directly from the Conservation. But don't take my word for it. Why not listen to this here statement from one of our finest, the Prime Minister of the British folks over there in sunny England? Without my rigorous upbringing on the Conservation, I might not hold the values I do today. The people need their betters raised better. I'm proud to be one of their prime cuts. Well, shucks. Don't that put a bonfire in your belly? Our rigorous breeding and rearing methods will ensure you a pure product and guarantee that whatever nation, principality, or even international bank you put them in charge of will prosper for exactly the right folks. It's not just the Brits either. We've got our new special breeds, raised for their immutable idiocy and designed for mass market appeal. That's right. We make the fast food of politicking delicious for all y'all folks out there. When you can't trust your dang old neighbors for a cup of sugar, we grow fellas you can trust with your jobs. We check our stock for any signs of deviancy or left-leaning ideology and humanely snuff them out. One stray blue hair, and we make sure they go out back and off to the Lord's great pasture in the sky. So don't miss out. Buy one today and ensure your future, and that of all those you got beneath them their boots. When the rapture comes, be on the right side of history.
Honey, that's your line right there. Oh, hell. The conservation. Without us, you'd have power to the people.
Oh, that was excellent.
That
I'm
was
glad to
amazing.
hear.
I loved that. Absolutely.
Oh, that
The
was so good.
second you absolutely broke me with a tally ho.
I thought, what do young men of that sort of stock say? Tally ho, I suppose.
Oh, it's perfect. It's the same when you was talking about like getting Eton mess and roast beef on Sundays. Like,
Yeah.
Wow, it's the Lord's Day, sir. Oh, Christ. That was really funny.
I'll be
Oh,
fair, with the start, I was like, he has to go spec fix some point. I was like, oh, there we are.
He has to go spec-fic. How dare you call me out so immediately, sir?
I was just there like, no, I really liked the intro because obviously it gives you that false sense of security. Like, oh, we've got this lovely, happy, perfect farm. There we are. It's really fucking weird, and they're being really casual about it because this is just, Tuesday to them. They don't see anything weird about it at all.
About growing politicians.
I
Ugh,
mean,
I'm
God.
proud to be one of their prime cuts. That's the actual performance was phenomenal. Like you were hitting, there was so much material to work with because you'd written it beautifully, but also you were hitting it really really well. I think because the way that you landed on prime cuts was just heavy enough. I think.
you can tell you've done a lot of these episodes, to be honest. The narration's absolutely on point.
It's amazing. It's really good.
It's
So
nice to the return of the Prime Minister, isn't it? He's not been in one of the stories for a
he's not
while.
written about the Prime Minister for some time, but he's made a comeback. No pigs featured in this one though, so
No.
yeah, it's good. It's a limit to how many marks I can give it out of pigs.
Or is that what happens to the politicians who, just really subpar? It's like, well, back to the pig food for them.
Ground up.
Retire the genealogy. So one of the things that I really liked about this was because it is good spec fic and it is good performance, but I think I just really like the construction of it because this kind of creepy pre-recorded tour thing is good in and of itself, but then adding in the awful performance from his wife, who's fluffing her lines and breaking that fourth wall basically by talking to the people behind the camera, really elevates this story. Really elevates it.
It makes it feel more real.
Yeah.
More lived in, because if you'd just done the pre-recorded message, it would have been still like a really good to listen to story, but it just adds that extra polish to it where it's like, oh shit, this is both real and they're not putting it on, this is just their life.
Yeah.
The I really like those kind of found footage stuff you'll find online of people out on on camping trails talking about what they're doing, and it's so real because they don't know how to deliver things, and it makes the sort of blasé way they'll talk about things like that the snow around them might collapse and kill them so much more frightening because it is mundane. So that definitely, I'm glad that it showed that I've been consuming way too much of that recently.
I'll be honest, it's something I'm a big fan of is because, like, not being funny, I read a lot of short fiction, so I really do enjoy when people are going for what I think the term is like a non-typical format, non-standard format.
Yeah.
Especially when don't get me wrong, you see a lot where it's done badly. When it's done well, like with you, it's just so good, especially on audio.
I think you get to do a lot of things in the format we work in that you probably couldn't get away with on the page, but it's kind of an interesting part of what we do because there are ideas like that does work written down, but when you get to play it, it's a very very different story, and it gets to have an energy that it wouldn't possibly get read straight off the page. I think we have got a lot of practice now writing for audio.
Oh yeah, and it honestly it really does show because you're right. I mean, it's a great format. It's a great format for science fiction anyway, because obviously it just gives you different avenues to explore than solely written down on the page.
Yeah.
Mm. So you've actually won an award for best audio before from the Science Fiction Association. What was that? What was that work that you did for that?
Oh, yeah, it was called The Personal Touch. It was, if I'm perfectly honest, it was a bit of a shower thought / like daydream,
Yeah.
where it was like a very basic format, but it was somebody coming in, and obviously in the future, like everyone's using cleaning robots, so there's some people who are going to obviously pay for hand-done cleaning, and they're going to pay a premium for it. And it was somebody doing that, and then as soon as the people scarper, they bring out the cleaning robot, and they start desperately looking for jobs so they can actually have a real job.
That sounds really good. What was and it was for best audio. So did you read that out, or was that read out on a podcast? Or
Oh yeah, I definitely did not. It was read out on Manawaker Studios / Fiction podcast with CB, who's a really good narrator. I think I did not narrate that, to be honest. I'm a terrible narrator, hence I asked if you lads could do mine later.
Well, that's what we're building to now, because everybody listening, Rick has written, but Nico is going to perform it. I have not read this before. I've not listened to this before, so my reaction will be very fresh. But obviously Nico has read it because he's about to perform it. So if you're ready, Nico, and you're ready, Rick, to have your work read out, I think it's time for story 2.
Excited.
Go on, Rick. Give me an action.
Action.
Unicorn spotting. Virgin Wanted wasn't a reassuring sign to read when looking for a job. Even with context, it didn't bring John joy. He knew it was a horrible, dirty job. Good people with morals didn't kill unicorns, but being a good person had brought him here, cheated out of everything he owned. Morals didn't pay the rent or put food on the table. The only positive outcome from being a good person was, unfortunately, this job recommendation. Their former virgin, Sarah, had recommended John. Apparently, to the unicorns, the term meant pure of soul as opposed to marital terminology. They hadn't dared ask her for a date after that. The purity wasn't retained after killing one in cold blood. John wasn't sure if that was true or something unicorns said to avoid being murdered. But it was enough to give him pause outside the tent. That and the fence before the tent, which was surrounded by haggard, hungry-looking people covered in so many scars their skin looked like a giant mismatched puzzle. Many of them stared coldly at him, before focusing their attention on the tent mouth, where a tall woman, also covered in scars, gripped a knife that could cut pigs in half. She looked him up and down, then opened the tent flap, following him in after. He did his best not to resemble a pig, although he sweated like one. Inside the tent, a man was counting out little glittering balls onto a set of metal scales. "Thank you, Pam. Do you want me to stay?" "No, but take a sparkle ball for your troubles." "Ta," said Pam. She ate one of the balls and went left with a cheesy grin. John saw the scales reporting £10 and felt faint. That was more money than he would ever see again in his lifetime, especially after his business partner had lied for months about investing their profits into an expansion and spunked the load on Unicorn Horn. Feeling self-conscious, he turned to the side and read a sign. "Horn makes you run through walls." "You like it?" asked the man, still counting on the scales. "Advertising for pubs." "The Principality lets you do that?" "They're our biggest customer." The man shrugged. "They cut it with quicksilver and call it hornivitin. Soldiers can fight for a weekend without sleep." "Blimey," said John, not knowing what else to say. "You the virgin?" "Yes. No," John blushed. "Yes." "You." The man waved his hand up and down John's tattered rags. Between that, the grime, and the stubble, he didn't look pure of heart.
He certainly didn't smell pure of anything either. It's been a bad few weeks, but I've tried to be kind my entire life. How'd that go? John sighed. The last few weeks had been testing. A part of him wondered if the only reason he'd been nice to people was that his family fortune had bankrolled him through any inconveniences. Until now. Suboptimal. I buy it. You didn't grow up like this. Nor do I want to stay like it, said John, harder than he meant to. It hadn't been a fast fall, falling down several social classes at a time until the people who used to beg for his attention now told the servants to turn him away. The step before, they had offered him old clothes he had been too proud to take. God, he wished he'd taken those clothes. If you get us a horn, you'll be well treated. Do you provide an advance? The man laughed. Evidently, dealers parted with money less readily than tigers parted with their teeth. But he looked John up and down. Stay here tonight. Pam will sort some food, then you can crack on at dawn. They can take days to find in that dumb reserve. Thank you, said John. The unicorn-killing drug peddlers were the nicest people he'd met in months. That probably said a lot about his former friends. Finding pure-hearted virgins willing to kill a living creature so they could grind and snort its horn was one major problem faced by the unicorn horn trade. Another was finding the beasts. The natural habitat of unicorns was vast open plains, so their protected nature reserve was almost an entire county, separated from the mainland by a thin strip of land that could be easily policed. At an hour so early that John was not familiar with it, Pam walked with him over the strip to a pair of guards at a thin wooden barrier that was more a suggestion than a real blockade. Pam nodded to the nearest one. Morning, Steve. Morning. Here for the usual. Aye. Pam handed over a wax pouch of something that John didn't have to guess about. Shift changes at dark. As they walked through the open barrier and onto the lush, rolling greenery, John asked, I thought you said it would be days. You wouldn't have slept otherwise, old softy me, said Pam, with a face like a cat's scratching post. So we're hunting now? If you're as pure-hearted as you claim. Well, I've never done anything otherwise to anyone. Then they'll come. It only took an hour weaving through lush meadows on the path, but John's thighs and knees were aching. He wasn't sure if it was the lack of exercise in the last month or the lack of food, but he was fading quicker than yogurt in the sun. As if reading his mind, Pam passed him a snack. You can have a sparkle ball if you're tired. The sandwich will suffice. Thanks. It was anchovies, tomatoes and cheese, a combination John found as delicious as a cold cup of vomit. He ate every crumb and sighed at the memory. Hopefully won't be long, said Pam, as if hearing his thoughts. When we started coming here, you could walk across the territory on them. Harder now. But they'll show. Should you hunt them less? If we don't, someone else will, and I have mouths to feed. Before John could ask questions, he saw movement on the road ahead. John stared open-eyed at the most beautiful, perfect creature he had ever seen. Smooth, white, curved flanks of gleaming muscle, and a horn that glittered like the gold it was worth. The entire creature shimmered like rainbow steam from a hot cup of coffee as it nuzzled a crop of butter-yellow sunflowers at the side of the path. His eyes filled with tears, and his lip quivered as if his father had finally told him he was proud of his arts degree. Pam grunted. Grow up. Right. John swallowed. The most perfect sight he had ever seen, and now it was time to stab it. What do I do? If you're truly pure-hearted, just stand and wave. The unicorn will be drawn to you. John felt even more awkward than when a room of people were singing Happy Birthday, but he waved at the unicorn. His heart melted as it walked down to him, gently swaying in an almost lyrical flow, mane flourishing in the wind. It continued its rhythmic movements until the tip of its horn was resting on John's nose. It was so beautiful, so mesmerizing, that John's hand couldn't even consider moving for the knife. How could he stab or harm something so perfect? He would have to find another way to live. Starving would be better than introducing this peaceful creature to violence. The unicorn bit his cheek, ripping off a hunk of flesh and chewing with a crooked grin. John screamed, blood pouring down his face, as he couldn't understand what was happening. The horn whipped side to side and there was dirt at John's back. He raised a hand to block, to help, to hold the unicorn. He didn't know. Then the unicorn teeth were gnashing. All John knew was sharp, blinding pain. Then the unicorn slumped to the ground, thick red blood pooling next to it. The hilt of a large knife protruded from its neck. Pam stood over it, with a knowing nod. Sorry, try to be quick. You planned this! Screamed John, clenching his hand. His fingers were attached by flaps of skin, and the missing flesh had been replaced with molten fire. Blood spouted like a fountain to mingle with the unicorn's growing pool. Why do you think they want virgins? Well, apparently they taste better. Pam shrugged. I like people not having sex with my food too. Lovely, said John, through gritted teeth. Why didn't you tell me? You'd have said no. But I'm crippled. Not with this. Pam held out a sparkle ball. The overwhelming pain riding through John meant he didn't even think twice. Still clutching his hands, he bit it right out of Pam's hand and swallowed. The pain disappeared immediately. He had never felt better in his life. Every minor ache and niggle was replaced by an overwhelming euphoria of pure energy. He knew he could run through walls so much that he wanted to test it. Almost needed to test it. That he would have to build a wall to test it here barely deterred him. Laughing, he looked at his hand. The gaping open wound had been replaced by thick blue scar tissue. Not the prettiest, but John didn't mind. Everything was going to be great forever. The only thing he knew more than that was that he would choke his own mother to death to get another one of those little balls of sparkling joy. Lips still tingling, he stood up to see that Pam had detached the horn from what he presumed was the unicorn. Not much, is it? Asked John. What was left was just a short, fat horse with leathery grey skin. No, the horns seem to get smaller every time. John sucked his teeth and felt the strange tingle of energy draining away, leaving him tired, hungry and with a coppery taste. You know you stopped being pure after killing one? Pam nodded. Did anyone tell the unicorns? Is it instant? You want to try another? John licked his lips. Let's be quick about it.
That's fucking great. I've had a right treat here with these stories. Oh, I love that. What great idea.
Pleasure to read, my man. An absolute gift to read that.
Thank you. You did a fantastic job of narrating it. I'd like to start out with saying.
Yeah, really good. But I think, again, there was so much material to work with. Like, it wasn't like you were like Nico was like straining to get something out of that story. Like it was there for you, right? Like it felt like he was really being like gifted it, and it was a great performance, but really good story.
Cheers. I'll apologise now. I obviously went a little bit away from the conservation aspect.
No, I think that whole thing happened on a reserve, and I think that totally works. Yeah, it totally works. Opening with like this, opening with the Virgin Wanted is a really quick way to access this particular mythology. I think the whole, the kind of basic like drug merchants profiteering off it was really well set up. Like I really enjoyed this almost like Steinbeck-esque itinerant workers thing. That moment of like being fed before starting work as well. That's kind of like a classic dayteller thing, isn't it? That you'd work for your supper and that kind of thing.
Yeah, it's how people tend. If you read up on cases where these things happen in real life, it's often they show people a tiny kindness, and then that buys a surprising amount of loyalty from then on. So they can get like drug mules and so forth to do these horrible things. It's like, oh well, he can't be that bad. He did feed me yesterday when nobody else would give me the time of day.
Yeah.
Gosh.
And yeah, it was a bit left field. I'll be honest. I'm very bad at writing to prompts. And this is the second attempt. The first attempt, it was just it was technically a functioning story, but it sparked no joy.
Yeah.
Like it ticked all the boxes of being a logical story, but you know what I mean? It just had no soul behind it. And I was like, I don't want to make someone read that.
Yeah. No, I get you. The characterization in it is fantastic, by the way. You get everything you need to know about the people in it so efficiently. Like to get 3 characters feeling as filled out as they do in a story that short is fantastic work.
No, but it's in all complete honesty, it's one of the benefits of writing a lot of short fiction is you try and do a lot with a sparse word count. It's giving the illusions of there being more depth.
Yeah.
And it's just even other things. Like the first draft of that I wrote, there was another couple of characters where it's like, well, they're not really needed, are they? We can condense, like, there doesn't need to be a second person with Pam, just Pam and the main character can be more than sufficient.
Yeah.
Because obviously, like, don't worry, there's lots of different problems, obviously, if you're trying to write, like, longer fiction, but short fiction, it's like, how few people can we have in the room at once?
Yeah.
Absolutely. Pam's a great name for this as well. That again, that kind of slightly, almost like cognitive dissonance about the subject matter of the unicorns and the mythology of unicorns, and then this very real world where there's like scarred up hunters and drug merchants, and so that a name like Pam really does a lot of heavy lifting, I think, for world building to get the tone right of that sort of dichotomy.
Yeah, when you're doing stories like this, I do like them to feel like real people.
Yeah.
Because obviously it's too. I mean, don't get me wrong. There's a kind of story where you go really surreal and weird, and they can be great. But it's just not what I wanted to do with this. I wanted it to feel dirty and ground and real. Hence why, obviously, I'm sure you noticed the allusion in the name to Trainspotting.
Yeah.
Anchovies, tomatoes, and cheese. Could you fucking explain yourself immediately? Could you please fucking explain yourself? That's disgusting. I recoiled.
I was trying to think of what is the worst sandwich I can think of that a really hungry person would eat, but be incredibly unhappy about it.
I felt so sure. Yeah, well, maybe. I felt so sure that this was actually a sandwich that you might actually enjoy, but you were aware that would turn a lot of people off. That I was hoping you might have a story about why you liked it, but I'm somehow comforted more by the fact that you made that up.
I do like anchovies on pizza, to be fair. I don't think I could scran a fresh one in a sandwich. But I'm tempted to, I'm tempted to have one now just as a follow-up.
Anchovies, tomatoes, and cheese. I think we all might have to try that, I think.
I think I'm going to make these and we're going to eat them on mic, Ben, and it's going to go on the Patreon. That's what's going to happen.
Oh no, eating on mic. That's taking a step far too close to that kind of erotic ASMR kind of thing that people get into. I think I want to stay away from that.
Anchovies now.
Just hearing it Gollum-like slip between my teeth.
Is that where it becomes a challenge for future guests? What's the weirdest shit we can get them to eat for the next episode?
Oh no, I've become a dancing monkey or an eating monkey.
Over the next 3 years, it becomes a tiny fridge.
And we get even fatter. There's some delightful descriptions in there. So the whole thing shimmered like rainbow steam from a hot cup of coffee. Wow, I love that. That's because it's not hoity-toity. It's grounded in the fact that it's the source of the hot cup of coffee, but it's seeing that kind of beauty in the everyday that is then applied to something not everyday, something extraordinary, a unicorn. I really enjoyed that. It was like it was a real like an intercontinental ballistic missile of a description that it landed very heavily for me, and I liked it a lot.
At the other end, fading faster than yogurt in the sun made me go, the first time I read it.
Yeah.
I'll be honest. There's two parts to that. One is like the tight word count, which I absolutely didn't hit, so apologies again. Made me like really cut back on the description, because obviously, like, I do feel if I was writing with no constraints at all. For context, for anyone listening, I was told 1,500. I did 1,700 words. I reckon it would probably be about 2,200 to 300 if it was no constraint at all.
Yeah.
And it doesn't help it to have no constraints, does it?
It makes you work harder.
Yeah, for sure.
But I also hate writing description to the point where when I do a first draft, and I accept this is really weird, I actually don't do any description.
Damn, that is strange, but fascinating though.
My process, we could go over it, is quite frankly a train wreck. But I quite often have to put humour into it to make it interesting enough for me to do the description.
Yeah.
And there was plenty of it. I really enjoyed like the joke about the virgins tasting better. That there is a comedian that has a really solid joke on that, isn't there? Is it like, or is it maybe it's in a TV show or something?
I think it's from the film, or maybe the TV show, What We Do in the Shadows.
Oh, that's it. Yeah, it's like sandwich if no one's fucked it first. Yeah. But I really enjoyed your take on it. I also laughed out loud at the father finally telling him that he was proud of his arts degree. There was lots of sort of well observed, good. Yeah, it was good observational humor just scattered throughout it. Yeah, really good. It was funny, clever, engaging, violent, interesting, and fantastical. All of the things that I like in a story.
I like it. Like one thing I am trying to do a lot of recently is combine the darkness and the comedy, because I do think they really gel well together.
Yeah.
Because obviously you get the highs and I feel if you have both the highs and the lows in the story, it makes more of an emotional impact than if you only have the highs of a comedy or the lows of a sheer horror. I think if you get it, it's harder to do, and I definitely don't get it right every time. There's quite a lot of trunk stories. But when it does work right, I do feel it gives you more of an emotional roller coaster kind of vibe.
Just on that, just in terms of like the construction of meaning and tone and stuff in this story in particular, the moment where the tip of the horn rests against his nose, I found that description to actually leave me kind of a little bit breathless, because there was the sort of implicit threat that unicorns have, but also the beauty of the moment. And I just wondered whether you had like an idea of like how, because that feels like it was very deliberately created as the moment. How did you do that? Do you have a sense of how you constructed that?
I'll be honest, not in the friggin' slightest. All I know is I wanted to have a bit of an intimate moment where the unicorn is had this lovely what's the word I'm looking, dramatic entrance. It's come up, it's looking them in the eyes, nose is touching in an almost romantic manner, and then it fucking tries to eat his face.
And then it eats his face. Yeah, fucking amazing. So good.
If I'd had more of a word count, it was something I also wanted to do, which I had to cut, which was he was going to have to finish it off, and he was going to whisper something along the lines of, "You can't do this, I'm the last one," and then she goes, "Oh, don't worry, they all say that."
Oh, that would have been so weird. I would have liked that. Oh,
yeah,
freaky unicorns lying about shit. I love it.
Oh, that's why I want to go. Like it's hard to do a bit of a twist on something which has been done so many times. But it's like I want horrible murderous unicorns, but also when all the magic fades, like actually kind of little rhinos.
Yeah. Little rhinos. God, did you, just before we move on from it, did you get that sort of breathless sense from it, Nico, when you read it for the first time?
I think the thing that really shook me was how taken in I had been by its majesty.
Yes. Yeah.
So I was, I got to read it early because I was going to read it out. So I thought I want to take it as much like a reader as possible. And I thought, oh God, isn't it going to be sad when he has to kill it? And this is really tragic. And then it bit him in the face. And it shocks me so much. So, oh God, no.
And that's what we're going for.
Yeah.
The injury detail was really well written because you left enough to our imaginations for it to be truly horrible. And then all the actual details that you put in led that beautifully.
Yeah.
I do find with a lot of things that's often the best way. It's quite similar to when you're writing a fight scene, because it's really easy to start doing like a step-by-step play.
Yeah.
Ben's left hand goes up, Nico's right hand drops.
Yeah.
Whereas if you just give general vibes, people are smart and they'll fill in 90% of what's going on. And often they see it better because you don't describe it.
Yeah. I think, especially in short story writing, you got to trust your reader, haven't you? You got to make sure they have space to fill in the gaps, and you leave enough gaps for them to fill.
Especially, because obviously every word I don't have to write down keeps the story down and increases the chance that someone's willing to pay for it.
Yeah.
Beautiful.
Just before we move on, have you seen the film Death of a Unicorn? Because I watched it relatively recently, so this was quite an interesting area for me.
I am not familiar with that film.
So it came out earlier this year. It's an Alex Sharfman joint with Paul Rudd and a couple of other people leading it. Very American comedy, but it is about like savage unicorns that get harvested for their.
Oh God damn it!
In this kind of like, I think in that context, it's like for a pharmaceutical corporation. But the reason I bring it up is because these concepts, whilst similar, are completely different in tone and execution. And I think I actually prefer yours to this massive budget comedy movie. I think yours was probably funnier and also like way more interestingly violent. It might be worth checking it out because it's just if this is sort of an area of interest for you.
I'm literally opening it on a tab now because I do want to see that because I like horror and comedy. That is the compliment I'll take of the day. My story was you preferred it to the actual film people spent money on.
Yeah, like a lot of money. I always get a little bit scared when you talk about how much money is spent on making films.
It's an obscene quantity of money when you're looking.
It's an obscene amount of the number is obscene. But anyway, that's a totally different conversation.
I mean, the one thing I will say is when you look at the A-list films and their advertising budget is essentially more than some people's like country's education budgets, and it's like Jesus.
Yeah. Oh, comparing GDPs.
And then they're advertising a film no one wants to see anyway.
Yeah.
Savage. Right, we can put it off no longer. We've had politicians grown on a farm, and we've had unicorns. Ben, what wild third thing have you got for us?
Conservation. 5 on each side, shouted the Trojan boy, who she thought was leaning perilously far out over the stern. His small blue eyes shone with focus, and his voice sounded strained to Helen. She did not have to imagine the fear in his chest, knowing it must be close kin to her own. Good lad, Tower! Men, extra rowers on each side! Commanded the love of her life, tousling the boy's hair as though he hadn't a care in the world. Paris swept his grin over the ship full of rowers towards her. He was tall, though not as tall as her husband, with a good nose and golden hair she knew was enviously soft to the touch. His long eyelashes, which gave him the appearance of always wearing kohl, darkened his eyes so that their colour reminded her of blackest night. The moment their gazes met, she burned for him, and knew with perfect certainty that their love would persist beyond their deaths. There was an otherness to that feeling, and she sensed it did not come from within herself. The emotions of it seemed too large for a mortal heart to summon. Helen's mind had tugged on that thread ever since their first meeting a week earlier, worrying at it whenever she was not blinded by his aura. Paris blew her a kiss and broke the lock of their gaze. They had been 2 days at sea, navigating around Athenian-controlled islands, which were scattered across the Aegean like rolled dice, and Spartan sails had dogged their small Trojan fleet constantly during that time. Paris had given orders for them to split up during the first night. Helen had bid the other ships a silent farewell, watching them as they slipped across the moonlit waves to find individual routes home. Now, packs of Spartan ships roved the vibrant teal sea, looking to corner the Trojans, who were unused to the waters, and their Pentaconta ships were named for the 50 rowers they could see. She wondered at how she could have left her children behind, how she could have doomed 2 mighty nations to war, all without a thought for anything but Paris's love. It made no sense to her otherwise well-ordered mind. His touch on her exposed shoulder surprised her. It weakened her knees, and she fell into his arms. "You see, my love, the strategy here is to conserve our rowers' strength," he explained, and though she had already understood the logic, she found his manner to be intoxicating. "The boy, Tawa, that means eyes in your tongue?" she asked. "He tells you how many rowers they are using to catch you, and you stay ahead by always having more." Her voice came out as a breathy whisper. "You have the right of it, my love. Oh, how I long to have you safe in my bed. Will you forgive me for not sprinting us home? If we're caught in the open with spent rowers, well, let's just say that the next boat we're on will be manned by Charon." "10 on each side!" cried Tower, and she watched more of Paris's burly Trojans settle themselves on their rowing benches. Each man flexed his enormous back before unshipping his oar. She saw their skin, beaten bronze by a lifetime on sunny seas, was beaded with sweat. Helen noticed the additional speed they lent the ship instantly, and had it not been for Paris's arms, she might have stumbled again. "I have you," whispered Paris into her ear. "How right Aphrodite was to name you the most beautiful mortal woman." He gave her the compliment like a master pets his hound. Were it not for the all-consuming love she bore him, she might have heard the demanding tone of an arrogant child in his words. Helen looked away from the glinting ram at the prow of the receding Spartan ship, and instead focused on the small island that they would soon turn to avoid. The sun, low behind her, darkened the teal of the waves to a lustreless verdigris, and the white pumice cliffs ahead were dyed orange by its weakening light. Helen noticed something strange decorating those rocks. It looked as though a ship's mast had been hoisted halfway from the sea and left to dangle in its own knotted rigging alongside other shadowy shapes. "What is that, my love?" She felt his chest tense when he saw it too. "It's a tropeon, an offering of thanks to the gods for a Greek victory. That mast belongs to one of my ships, and has been left to mark the closest shore to the battle. They must have caught them this morning." Helen looked closer as their ship slid past, and saw that the other shapes were the helmets and armour of vanquished Trojans. She imagined the 2 deaths those poor men had chosen from, either slain by vengeful Spartans or drowned beneath Poseidon's waves. Conjuring the horrors of that battle filled her mind with such cold clarity that she shivered. 15 on each side!" called Tawa abruptly, causing Helen to flinch. "Fear not, my love. I shall string my bow if they gain on us." He dipped her, kissing her neck, then her chin, and finally swirling her tongue with his own. A high-pitched shriek broke them apart, and they looked over to see 3 large birds savaging Tawa. The birds were bigger than hunting hounds, and bore curved bronze beaks. Helen saw that their pearlescent feathers were already wet with dark blood. Tawa's blood. Their flurry of jutting strikes had torn through the boy's eyelids, and pecked his blue eyes to jelly, just as their talons had gouged his scalp and shoulders. Blood poured over his ears and down his chest, spatter on the deck by his feet. Tower shrieked again, a haunting noise of stolen promise. Paris dropped her, scooping up his bow as he did so and stringing it with a practiced motion. An explosion of feathers showed that his first shaft had found its mark, scattering the brutal birds. His second took one of them on the wing as it fled, and his third fell short as the final savage bird was lost in the setting sun. All was silent again, but for the waves and Tower's gurgling. Helen, pushing through the shock of the attack, tried to go to him, but Paris grabbed her arm. We must not interfere with his fate. No doubt this is some vengeance of Hera's for my bargain with Aphrodite. To show compassion for the wounded does not... She stopped as his words caught up with her. What deal? She asked. I bargained for your love, risking all to find you in this world. I knew I had to have you before I knew your name, my love. Paris stared into her eyes, and she felt surrounded by the darkness of his gaze. She heard Tower's anguish cut short by the thump of an oar, and looked over to see two sailors pitching his body over the side. Blinded, the Trojan ship swept around the island and found a seemingly limitless darkening ocean waiting on the other side. Helen aimed a worrying glance at their sail. Previously catching wisps of wind, it now sagged limply against the mast. All hands to the oars! All hands! Now! Paris's yelled command rang in her ears, and she had to flatten herself against the rail to avoid the sailors scrambling to their benches. In doing so, she saw what had spurred into action. 3 Spartan ships, all of them with white water breaking over their rams, as full banks of oars hurled them towards the Trojan vessel. Abruptly, their carefully managed escape had turned into an all-out desperate sprint. She was faced with 50 grimacing Trojans, as every oarsman bent his back to their flight. Paris urged them on from where he gripped the tiller, and the cool night air swaddled their sweaty chase. For Helen, time raced by, and the hissing rush of water parting before the Spartans seemed to grow ever closer. Aboard their ship, Paris lit oil lamps so the rowers could see their hands. To Helen, their bellows-like breathing was like listening to the beating heart of the ship. She judged that it had been 3 hours before someone faltered. A spasm of fear crossed an oarsman's face in front of her, just before a muscle in his arm became unstuck. She watched as, with an audible snap, his bicep rolled up beneath his skin towards his shoulder. He was dragged forward by the ocean and managed to lean his weight on the oar to pull it clear of the water before it became an obstacle for his fellows. Paris put her hand on the tiller and pointed at the dark line of the eastern horizon. She saw he was readying his bow to deter the Spartans chasing them. Aim us there, my love, and do not look away from that point. There lies Troy and a safe, happy life together. Helen did so, for all her choices had been taken from her.
That was wicked.
That was beautifully written.
Well, thank you.
I really enjoyed that. Oh, did you have to do a lot of reading up on the boat stuff? I don't know what the technical term is for boat stuff.
Yeah, a little bit. Yeah, I wanted to. I was going to call them. They were originally written in as like biremes or triremes, and then I thought that might not be the right word for it. So I looked it up, and they were completely different ship types to that. They were Pentacontas. This kind of, you see them in like films like Troy and things like that. Like those. Yeah. They basically look like Viking longships, except they've got this kind of like curled up back and then a big prow front with a face on it.
I mean, I did spend a lot of your story getting excited for when Brad Pitt turns up. That's that's specifically where I was at.
I'm completely unashamed by the fact that I love that film so much. Like I grew up watching historical fiction epics. Not historical fiction, but historical epics. You know, like your Ridley Scott movies. You know, Gladiator, Troy, things like that. Kingdom of Heaven.
I mean, the bit with Brad Pitt where he wakes up out of bed and just does that weird run at the huge champion guy and just stabs him straight through the neck and then walks off.
Yeah, I think I must have watched that about 60 times as a teenager. I fucking love that bit.
Yeah, just that bit.
Yeah.
It's genuinely great. I mean, obviously it's not accurate. It's a bit cheesy, but it's good fun. And you have Sean Bean not die.
Sean Bean does not die. Yeah, absolutely not. Yeah,
Was he Odysseus?
He was Odysseus. Yeah.
Yes. I've not seen that film in 20 years, but I really want to go rewatch it. Right?
Yeah, do it. Yeah, no. So not only does he survive that, he also lives for quite a long time and has way more adventures, which is kind of cool.
Yeah.
I presume why did they not do a spin-off with Sean Bean in that?
I think the concept of the cinematic universe that we're now just constantly under the cosh of from the big studios just wasn't really a thing at that point. Is my only answer to that. Because it was early 2000s, I think, wasn't it? Troy?
I feel they definitely would do that now. Well, I mean, I just want to see Sean Bean in more things. To be honest, like I very much enjoy Sean Bean. Sorry, we're talking about a random film, not your story.
No, it's all right. I mean, but there's no way I write this story if I've not had a deep love of that film Troy since I was a teenager, since I was a kid. No way. I mean, I've also played quite a lot of Hades 2 recently, which is a very good.
Yeah, I was going to ask.
I hear great things about it.
Yeah, it's just a fun take on that kind of mythology. But I think one of the things that sort of came up when I was reading up about, the Paris and Helen thing, is that it's often shown as just like this love affair that, she does throw it all in for him and leaves her husband and all that kind of stuff, and it's like lusty and meant to be and destined. But the actual story is that Paris is the judge of a beauty contest between three of the goddesses on Olympian goddesses, and Aphrodite bribes him to make her the winner. And the bribe is that he will have the love of the most beautiful mortal woman, who is Helen of Troy at this point. So she is fully like a backdoor deal for Paris with his like dealings with the gods, and she has no say in it at all. Like she just gets struck by that divine will.
Yeah, it raises
has to keep going.
It raises like the question you always get about love potions, doesn't it? It's like that's very non-consensual. It's a bit.
It's extremely. Yeah, it's because she just doesn't have any choice. So I was trying to get across the fact that she wasn't like constantly hating it, but at the same time something was wrong. Like she had not chosen this. And even in the sort of Greek myths and stuff, my understanding is that she's got 3 children with Menelaus by this point. So she's she's inherited Sparta. Her husband rules it for her, and she's got 3 children with him. And then this foreigner that speaks a different language turns up, and then they just elope. They just leave and cause a massive war. So I wanted to focus on that moment of you are being chased by your former husband. You don't really know why you left because a goddess has forced you to do it.
Bamboozled you, yeah.
Bamboozled you, yeah.
No, it definitely. Her strange state of mind definitely came across. That she wasn't hating it, but she wasn't truly comfortable. You handled that particularly well.
It really gives the vibe when she's feeling wrong of and I'm pretty sure everyone I've ever met has experienced this. When you were at school and you're all about 16, at least one girl in your year at school would be going out with a guy who was way too old for her.
Yeah.
And the way they talk about that, I mean, with me, it was my sister did it, guy in his 30s when she was 15. And she, not a positive thing, but she would talk about him in the way that Helen appears to be talking about Paris here. That kind of, but he's so perfect. I think there's got to be something wrong with him because of the situation you're in.
Yeah.
And I think you got that really right in this.
Oh, thank you.
It stirred that horrid feeling.
One thing I did make a note of because I really enjoyed it was like how a master pets his hound. I feel that conveyed the feeling that, as you said, she wasn't hating it, but equally part of her knew something's not quite on the money.
I'm glad that still landed because I cut a bunch of stuff out about her obsessing over being hunted like a deer. And it just wasn't working with all of the sea stuff that was happening. So I cut all of that out, but left that line in because I felt like it was it was a necessary line. So that's very validating.
To make it more oceanic, she was hunted like a porpoise.
Yeah, she was like a whale.
Very slowly.
With great delicacy. I got to say, man, horrible injury description with the bicep going on the rower.
Mm.
That was full like sort of tongue out of the mouth from me when you did that. Nasty.
That fully came from a video that I watched about 10 years ago of a guy working out what that happened to, and that snap is horrible.
Out of interest, what was he doing chest press by any chance?
So I was imagining that he was rowing, so it would have been on the backstroke. So
no, not in the story, in the video you watched.
It was an isolated bicep curl that was too heavy for him because he was ego lifting.
I hate watching shit like that. Like, you ever seen when you get the arm wrestling injuries?
Yeah. I've not seen the arm wrestling injuries. I've seen the horrible like knockouts where they just hit the ground and they're dead.
No, they do arm wrestling him, and there's enough videos of it. One person's arm just snaps. Yeah, so I'm at the point in life now. If anyone asks for an arm wrestler, it's like, you're stronger. I don't fucking care. I'm never arm wrestling another human ever again in my life.
I think that gels with wanting to avoid getting like kicked in the head and stuff as well. I think just box clever from now on for sure. But
yeah, I too have seen the people finding out that their biceps are really strong, but the tensile strength of their forearm is, that's set to a limit that you can't improve with working out, and those things will just go.
Yeah. Oh no, you did the injury really well. I did grimace a bit with that, like, and it feels like an injury you would get a lot from rowing. I don't know if that's documented anywhere, but
I was trying to imagine, like, if you just catch it slightly wrong, like if you get your pull slightly at the wrong time, you're technically pulling against all of the momentum, right? So you could, if you go against it slightly and you're stuck in that motion, it would really fuck you up. The thing that I really liked about that particular character, because you've got to fall in love with your little minor character, don't you? Is the fact that he uses his other arm and like his weight to get the oar out of the water, and because that would cause a huge problem if not, because it would get bound up in everybody else. People would get like chucked from their seats and stuff like that. My partner was a rower for her college at uni, and she's full of stories about people getting like just yeeted out of their seats because they've fucked up a pull.
Oh God.
So it really can happen, and I think on this scale, without any sort of health and safety in place, it would happen more.
I mean, I'll be honest, I did actually jot down more dedicated to his job than I ever have been or will be.
Yeah, he's trying to not get killed by Spartans though, so that probably sharpens your motivations a little bit, galvanizes the workforce.
I feel I would be more motivated to do work, go above and beyond and all that stuff, if there was a team of angry Spartans chasing me.
Just they were all like look like Gerard Butler in 300 as well, just shouting at you.
God, yeah, I'll run. But no, yeah, like all the sea stuff was particularly. Did you get your partner to read through it out of any of the rowing stuff to make sure it made sense? Or?
I actually didn't. I probably should have done. I think that would have made a lot of sense, seeing as I had access to a rower. But it was based on just years of talking about it and things like that.
I'm sure you've picked up a lot. It sounded really good. I mean, one little thing as well, which I really loved, and it's this kind of little extra tidbit, which I think really makes the difference and makes it feel real and lived in, was oil lamps to see their hands. Because as I said, that's just what the difference which makes it from, overtly fake to, it feels real now, because you're in a little dark room. It is dark. You cannot see your hands until someone puts on the light, and now you can just see enough to see what you're doing. It also sounds horrifying, by the way.
Yeah, just doing it in the dark would be really quite scary, wouldn't it? Especially after you've been your boy that's called eyes because he's got such good eyesight has had them torn from his skull by birds.
It's a hell of a play as well, because what you're doing is illuminating yourself with the Spartans, so they will see where you are through the night, and scary.
I mean, just rowing in the night is already kind of scary. I mean, you're adding them being chased by Spartans and people losing eyes to like being turned into jelly by talons. Like, that's pretty damn creepy.
Yeah, I think so. Yeah, it was a lot of fun to write. Like this originally came from the concept of trying to work out a clever way to approach conservation. So I went with energy conservation rather than anything else. The reason I did that is because my line of work, I actually have been involved with actual conservation organisations before. Like I did comms for an organisation that does like ecology conservation things for a bit, and then currently I'm in sort of like climate governance and things like that. So I wanted to steer well away from all of that in order to write this. I didn't want to write anything to do with real conservation strategies or ecology or tipping points or anything like that to do with the real world, because all of the stuff that I wrote down initially was so dark and depressing that I was like, nah, this can't be it. I went through like
Hounded by Spartans being the less dark.
Yeah, what the hell were you doing in the first one?
Well, I was writing about the tipping points that we're rapidly approaching with with the way that the world's going, and stuff like how close we are to when the ice is actually fucked, and like guaranteed sea level rises and knock-on effects of like a minor ice age in Northern Europe, blah blah blah, like all this very well documented stuff that's just like we are so close to it actually being a reality, and people are just not aware of it. And I just thought this is. I think I didn't want that in like this space for me when I'm around it quite a lot at work.
Sometimes fantasy is meant to be an escape. It's hard to escape from your day when you're writing about that kind of stuff, which is very real for you in real life. I rarely put my work or anything into any stories I do for the same reason. It's meant to be my fun downtime.
Yeah. Well, I think it's the wisest course. Although I have seen, Nico, you've put some like pretty epic, funny stories together, based on your work in IT before.
Oh yes, I do tend to go quite hard on the office element of it. Don't I?
What do you do, Nico?
I am currently a printer networking engineer.
That sounds like you're going to be a very frustrated man.
Oh,
you're going to win a chicken dinner, my friend. Oh gosh. But you work in IT as well, right, Rick?
Yeah. Nico will get my title. I'm currently the lead lead infrastructure architect for the National Nuclear Lab. So I obviously do all their designs for cloud and infrastructure and that kind of jazz. And I purposely avoid anything with printing.
Why? So this is really boring thing to talk about in the podcast, but I was a sysadmin and wanted to learn more about printers, and this seemed like a good way. And I live every day to regret my choices. And I hope no one from work is listening. Hi, everyone from work.
I mean, it's also the best job security because nobody wants to deal with printers because they lie.
They lie.
They do lie.
Like unicorns.
It's like dealing with fucking Rumpelstiltskin. They say something and it just do something else. Like they never do what they're meant to do.
Get a comment, Nico.
Probably got the wrong drivers installed. So, right, I'm calling an end to this conversation because we've got questions to ask you, and none of them are going to be about printers. I can guarantee it.
All right, I'm now going to bring every question back to printing.
Before we leave the stories behind, is there any? Would you mind giving people your like social media handles, things like that, so that they can find you and read more of your work? And if there's anything that you'd like them in particular to read of yours that you've written in the past, like
the easiest way to find me is the website, which for once in my life I've been very sensible and gone for rickdanforth.com, which you can just go and find it. My social medias tend to be weird. Like I actually had to check them out for myself. Instagram is danforthrick to be particularly annoying to people. And for some reason, my blue sky, I decided it was a good idea for Rick and Write. Don't ask me why.
Rick and Write, nice.
Yeah, so it made sense at the time, and I couldn't think of anything better. The story I'd like to ask people to read, I probably most recent one, if people want that, is I've got a flash called Adverts out in Metastellar. But like we've already talked about on the podcast, what I would say it's free to listen to is The Personal Touch, which won the BSFA award. It's a story I'm really proud of, free to listen to, and I am very partial to it.
Fantastic. Well, everybody go and listen to that. And in the next episode, you'll hear the interview where we'll grill Rick and see where the conversation goes. It feels that currently like it could go absolutely fucking anywhere. So I'm very much looking forward to it.
Do just hit me if you want me to stay on track. I do respond well to prompts.
Absolutely not. I wouldn't dare. You're the second best in the world at catch wrestling. You'd throw me through a fucking wall.
Yeah, but I do need a 30-minute warm-up with a state of my knees.
Thanks for joining us for this episode of The Tiny Bookcase.
Remember to subscribe, otherwise you're going to miss out on the future fun.
Also, tell a friend. If you like this episode, link them to it.
We'd be tremendously grateful. You can follow us on Twitter at BookcaseTiny, Facebook at The Tiny Bookcase, and Instagram at BookcaseTiny for updates. Speaking of supporting the podcast, well, magic can only take one so far. The Tiny Bookcase is supported by the generosity of its patrons. Those kind souls have really kept my belly full the last year. Let's cast a spell for them, shall we? For rich ginger tones on their scalp, let us cast the Orangi Hedondo spell for Scott Byrne. And for general fabulousness, why not the Ooh La La How's Your Mother spell on Matthew McLaren?
How do you come up with that shit, man?